Back on?
Go ahead.
Very good. It is 6:33 on January 17th, 2019. This is the regular board meeting for the Vernon Hills Park District Board of Commissioners. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Kessler.
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Commissioner Moline. Commissioner Baloo. President Dorhofer.
Here, we do have a quorum. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me. The first item on the agenda this evening is the omnibus vote agenda. Items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered routine and/or non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. If a separate vote on any one item is desired, it will be pulled from the omnibus vote agenda and voted on separately. Items in the omnibus vote agenda for this evening are the minutes of the special board meeting dated December 13, 2018, minutes of the Truth in Taxation hearing dated December 13, 2018, minutes of the regular board meeting dated December 13, 2018, and payables Les Granger and payroll through January 17, 2019 in the amount of $843,715.44. Could I have a motion to approve the omnibus?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler.
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the financial reports for the period ending December 31st. Marla, any changes or additions to the financial reports?
No, there's not.
They are on file.
Yes, they are.
We're good to go. Next would be the welcome to visitors and guests, public comment period. Seeing as we're doing such a fantastic job, nobody wants to come and talk to us, we will continue with unfinished business, as there is none because we are so efficient. We will get to reports and communication. Executive Director Jeff Hoosier. Jeff?
Thank you. So the IAPD has an annual legislative breakfast in Lake County. Mundelein Park District's going to be hosting that this year on Friday, February 8th. It's at 8:30. So, just let me know. We've got a couple weeks if your schedule dictates. Those usually run about an hour and a half. Those of you who have attended in the past, they invite all the legislators from Lake County to attend that, and they give kind of just an annual update on what's going on in their districts. You saw the renderings for Garvanian Playground. Don't need to bring those back, James. I think I think I got the desired outcomes. Sorry about that. From the board in terms of looking to advance that. So that will be prevalent on us getting approval on the grant, which we will find out a week from tomorrow at the state conference if we're a recipient of that, and certainly that'll help towards the acquisition of advancing this particular project. I talked to you all a little bit earlier about changing the hours at Lakeview. We got some requests started with one member, and it kind of just blossomed from there. And then Joe did some research on area clubs, and everybody's opening at 5. We're opening at 5:30. So he's done a little trial run this past week. He's going to do it again into next week just to work out the semantics with his staff. And then the plan so far looks really good, Joe, and we're going to look on January 28th to roll that out. And then Cheryl and Cheryl and Cassidy will be working with Joe on just getting the message out, the word out. Obviously, Joe's staff will do what we can with our membership just to let them know. So we're happy to do that. And the cost on it was fairly minimal. You have in your packet tonight a couple of items regarding just a recommendation from staff on merit increases that we need to envelope into next year's budget, and then also the annual salary classification schedule. Now, a little bit different this year with the classification schedule than we used HR Source, who is now a contracted outside firm that IPRA's hired. Prior years, we got data relative to a publicsalary.com site that was reliant on everybody to put information in. And the board had years ago we had 10 or 12 communities that we used as comps. Now, those are still included in this, but what's happened now is we've got 132 park districts. And what they break it down into is by budget and EAV. And so what we plug in is we fall into a certain line of 10 to 15 million in terms of a budget, and then our EAV, they have from $1 billion to 2 million, or 2 billion. We're in kind of the higher end at the 2 billion, the Village of Vernon Hills. So we use those factors in terms of coming up with our classifications. We also give you, in your schedule, you have a minimum and maximum range. And that's based on, we take data from a 25th percentile on the low end of the scale of the position and a 75th percentile. And so we use that min and max and correlate just in between. We typically compensate our employees if somebody was a freshman coming in and starting a new job, they're going to be on the low end of the minimum scale. If somebody's had 5 years of experience and comes in, they might be more mid-range. They might be upper to mid-range. And so it gives us the opportunity to do that. On this particular schedule comparative to last year, we had probably 4 or 5 positions where things went a little north in terms of that maximum range, but we also had a few positions that went south. So nothing in terms of any, I'll say, any real surprises that we found from the data. We have a number of staff that are tapped out, or, per our scale. And those are more tenured people. And, unfortunately, the survey data that we had, the data we had wasn't really prevalent to have that opportunity to move the scale a little bit for people. So it's a little bit of the history on that. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions on that when it comes up for board adoption this evening. Century Park South, if you've driven by it, the restroom is on site, it's in place, it's covered until the weather gets a little bit nicer. We still continue to have, James and his staff are constantly going out and getting the fencing and securing fencing around the site. We continue to work with the contractor and getting people out there. So hopefully when the weather gets a little nicer, hopefully the month of March is a nice month and we can get back out and kind of get that thing cleaned up. We talked about the Lakeview improvements. Attended a public officials and administrators meeting last night. Thank you to Commissioner Kessler for coming out with me. And I thought there were a lot of really good pertinent items relative to just all the members that we had. Our new state representative, Daniel Didich, who represents most of Vernon Hills, who's the gentleman that replaced Representative Carol Sente. And then Representative Mary Adley Allen, who is a newly elected state rep who represents Greg's Landing, a portion of Greg's Landing, and most of her district is Libertyville, Mundelein, Hawthorne Woods. But it was nice of her to come out because we always invited her predecessor, but he never showed. And so we had an opportunity as just public entities to kind of share some of our individual concerns about, desires. But it was really a good meeting. And our next meeting is I think it's May 8th, and I'll shoot that out to you guys. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that, Cindy, maybe,
No, just how beneficial those meetings truly are, and when we're all together, we're able to share resources and information and be more efficient for the community. So it's a good thing to continue doing.
Good. And then the planning and zoning meeting which was relative to the kindergarten facility, was canceled late afternoon yesterday. So James and I were planning on attending that. Is moved to next Wednesday night. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend, but James is going to attend on our behalf. And so, we'll talk a little bit later in the meeting about just some of the kindergarten update relative to that. I also the District 73 playground, if you remember last spring, they came before the village, the park district, the library. If there's anything we could do to help defray some of the expense, the board agreed to cover building a new playground up to a maximum of $250,000. And we have support from our state senator at $150,000. So our out-of-pocket for that particular project would be $100K. So James and I are just beginning design conversations. We met with some of the school district personnel on some of the things that we want to tweak that we're necessarily not crazy about. And we'll put that out to bid sometime, probably this spring or summer. But certainly we've got to use the allocations that come to us from the state sometime before June 30. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jeff? Thank you very much. Finance and HR Superintendent, Marla DeSico. Marla?
Good evening. W-2 processing is complete. We issued 425 W-2s this year. They were mailed last week, and I have also filed with the IRS, federal, and with the state of Illinois. So now it is on to ACA reporting. They have extended their deadline this year till March, so we have a little bit more time. Big surprise when I received an email that Knudy and Associates has been acquired by Sikich. In a number of our past agreements, when we went out to change firms, Sikich did give us a quote, and they were always high, so we never went with them in our RFPs. So what's turned out to be interesting after checking out from other park districts that use them, they've been very happy. So they will be honoring our pricing from Knudy. So we're going to get a firm at a lower price for the next 3 years that everyone who's used them has been very happy with, and I think provides a little higher level of service than Knudy did. So we really ended up benefiting having just recently done a new RFP. Another acquisition, this has been going on for quite some time. Fifth Third Bank purchased MB Financial. We've known about it for quite some time, but now we're actually getting to the point where I have an appointment set up, and we're going to start learning to use their software and actually physically start making the change. So that will start in February, mid-February, and should be completed by the end of February. That will actually then be on the new site. Should not affect much with our P card. In fact, it's supposed to make things better. We're hoping that our rate might even go up. And they use the same software, so for that one, we shouldn't have to learn something new, so that was good to learn. And we were just handing out today incentive checks from PATH, which is something that's done by Paderma to encourage our employees to lead healthy lifestyles, and you can earn up to $400 per year. And so that was just completed for 2018, and we'll be giving out the checks to staff tomorrow. Any questions?
Any questions for Marla? Commissioner Robbins?
Marla, have we ever used Sikich?
No, we've never used them. We never wanted to spend the money because they were always, I'd say at least 20% higher than the other firms. I've heard they give very good service throughout the year, where right now we really just meet with our auditors once a year and do the audit. I've heard that they're a much better resource ongoing, and any questions, any help they give you through the year is included, you know, as your auditor. So I got all good responses.
Very good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Recreation Superintendent Tom Ritter. Tom?
Good evening. Just a couple of quick follow-ups on events that have passed. We did hold our 4th annual New Year's Eve party. Sold out, went great. Spent all day blowing up balloons, and in about 15 seconds they were all on the ground and exploded. So it went very, very well. Typical special event. So thanks to everybody. Come out and enjoy the new year with us. We also held our Winterfest event this past weekend. We didn't anticipate much because the weather has been relatively dry and warm, and couldn't have ice skating, couldn't have sledding. And I think our best turnout's been just under 200, more like 150. We had about 300 people. We sold out of s'mores. It snowed during the event, which was ideal, and people had a great time. For those that might have showed up late and we might have sold out of things, it was simply when it's a free event, all you can do is plan on the previous years. So we planned for 200. So having 300 was great. So we still had our sled dog demonstrations and our horse and buggy rides. So thanks for everybody coming out and enjoying the winter with us. Our father-daughter program, just the two of us, is going to be held on Friday, February 8th. It has sold out. If anyone's interested in attending, I still encourage them to get on a waiting list. That Sometimes we can make accommodations and expand a little bit, or we'll have cancellations, so please put your name on the list. Rib Fest, wrong event. Craft beer tasting number 6 is coming up on March 2nd, Saturday, March 2nd from 5 to 9 p.m. This year, the food will be provided by Real Urban Barbecue. We'll bring some tasty ribs out there for all of our guests to purchase. We anticipate the usual, about 15 breweries. We usually end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 participants or guests. And this year we have secured so far 6 of the breweries to be local, which is great. And we have 2 more pending, so we'll probably have 6 to 8 local, and then maybe another 7 or 8 regional or national flavors. So a nice mix. I'll thank the Lions Club in advance. They are one of the key volunteer groups for us, especially when it comes to pouring samples at that event. It's very, very important that they're there, and we greatly appreciate it. Parents, with the snow that's coming, if it sticks around until March 4th, Monday, March 4th is the school's day out. We will be taking a bus up to Alpine Valley for 5th through 8th graders. We usually have about somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 kids that join us. It's an all-day event from 8 to 6:15 p.m. So please sign up now. And we have a new special event coming in late March. We used to do a mother-son event, similar to the daddy-daughter dance. It wasn't as well received as far as just participation and enrollment. And so we phased it out, but we've had some feedback that people would like to see that again. So we're gonna do a superhero-themed event called You're My Superhero for mothers and sons. It will be, again, March 22nd from 6:30 to 8:30. We'll have a DJ, not only doing music, but also doing games to keep the kids active and having a good time. We'll have ice cream and things of that nature. So if anyone's interested, they can register for that now. There are still openings for that event. And that's all I have, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Tom? One comment. I know we can't plan around every other organization's events throughout the year, but the one we probably want to pay some attention to is the craft beer versus the high school fundraiser. Because if you're associated with that,
Is it the same night?
same night again. And so I've gotten a lot of feedback of, really want to go, but the cab event is the cab event, and that's what people tend to default to. So if there's a way we can find out when that is and schedule it another weekend moving forward.
I'll make a note to look at that one. This event seems to be one of the few that we've had conflicts. Before it was the Lake County Craft Beer
Can
event.
the cab event move their date? Probably not, and since they are a significantly bigger event than we are, and they bring in significantly more dollars, I think they're probably not gonna be willing to do that.
Our event used to be in February, and I believe we were first. Not that it matters, but then the Lake County did a craft beer event.
Right.
And we had a conflict, and some people didn't care, they wanted to come here, others wanted to, so we worked around that, and now we found this conflict, so. I will make definitely a concerted effort to try and find those dates of both events prior to scheduling 2020. So,
Is there a cap on how many people can attend?
we haven't had to cross that bridge yet. My opinion is probably around 300.
Okay.
We've had, like I said, if we've hit 225 to 250,
So we're
it's
getting
been
close
crowded,
to it.
but manageable. I think
Right.
when you get to 300, you might start getting people say, it's a little warm in here, it's a little tight in here, just the way the layout is with the community room. I hope we have that problem. I hope we get to that point, but so far we're okay. It's a nice solid crowd, but there's room to maneuver and talk.
Right.
Very good. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda, Parks Superintendent James Kim. James?
Good evening. I have a couple other updates by Century Park South. We're working with Gewalt Hamilton on grading a sightline coming from the stage looking north and going out to Hawthorne Parkway before the spring hits, and then we can have a plan for the contractor. In the same respect, we're working with the ComEd and Public Works and an electrical contractor for the needs for our 2 large special events, or 3 actually, during the summer. And new service is needed, and we're just looking at short-term costs versus long-term costs. A couple of projects worth mentioning. We're doing technically a 3rd playground at the sand play area at the Family Aquatic Center. I'll be putting out a bid for Sullivan Center roof repairs. We're going to focus around the exterior of the old gym wall, the flashing in the roof membrane. And then solar panel updates, working with Train. The ComEd interconnection agreement is pending. Hopefully, it's going to be in our hands tomorrow so we can have a look at it. And that is just permission to tap into the ComEd feed so we can feed the ComEd grid with any surplus. One thing we did find through engineering is that we were gonna lose 2 to 5% of the number of panels because our transformer size cannot handle any more than that. So it's 2 to 5% less panels. It's maybe 3 panels up on the roof. And then all of our target dates have been pushed back 2 weeks due to some legislative conflicts that we just really had no control over. And then last, ice rink updates. Due to the snow that we were gonna have, or we might have the next couple of days, we are gonna hard date Monday as installing the liner and start putting water out. That being said, there is a chance, and we will post this, that there are many parking lots in our park district that's maybe closed until Tuesday. They might be Century Park Boulder Drive going to the cricket pitch, Lake Charles, Hawthorne Melody, and the Grosse Point lower lots, and we're gonna have some signs out and just telling people why. And I have a lot of staff out, and we wanna focus on getting the liner up on Monday because of the freezing temperatures. And we're supposed to project more snow Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we have a really small window to get this in, and then we'll plow the rest of the lots when we get a chance. And that is all for this evening, if there's any questions.
James, you'd mentioned about the ComEd, the transformer. Has the lottery been held? Or is it-
No, everything's been pushed back 2 weeks, so that lottery's gonna be in February instead of late January.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So just one of the opening comments that James made too, relative to Gaywalt with the Century Park South site in terms of just laying out that area so you got a better view, because I know that was a concern for the park board in making sure that if you're at the brick pavers and you're looking out south, that you don't have this huge elevated and drop down. And so when we get to that conversation of grading, I would certainly invite any other commissioners if they want to come out and meet us out there so you can work with our construction team and our engineers to voice concern, and some of it is inevitable because of slope coming off that path. Some of it is because of grading requirements, because it's you're in a waterway area and you got to have things designed so that they pitch to the lake for drainage purposes and runoff. So there are some tangible concerns that we're going to have to just deal with. But at the same time, I think, from James and I think you guys brought it up even at the last meeting when they were here with Tony, who was kind of in the back row, about our concerns about sightline to the stage and that. So we're aware of it, but I would certainly, when we get to that point, James will lock that down and we'll invite any of you out to come take a look. Okay? Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Next item, Facility Manager Joe Zimmerman. Joe?
Good evening. Active members as of the end of the year, we had 2,500. For the month of December, our member visits, personal training sessions, and group fitness attendance were all up over the previous December. Some other things of note, we completed our 60-day challenge. The 60-day challenge, again, is 60 visits in 60 days. This year, we had 788 people participate. Of the 788, 288 finished the challenge, which is above average. Typically, we have about 150 finish. So we're hopeful that we'll even have a larger number of participants next year. We also had Healthy Through the Holidays, which was a program we started to challenge our members to maintain or lose weight through the holiday season. So it started just before Thanksgiving, ended on January 4th. We had a lot of good feedback, and the members seemed to really enjoy that. They got encouraging emails from the trainers on a weekly basis. Anybody who lost and maintained their weight was eligible for prizes through a raffle, which were donated by REI. We also had our winter promotion, our Summer Slim Down. The Summer Slim Down is a 6-month package, or 6-month pass that expires on June 21st. We sold 132. We also started our first virtual race, Going the Extra Mile. With the virtual race, Participants are asked to complete 150 miles using any combination of exercise they want, biking, running, swimming. They track through fitness trackers if they want to. It's really just an honor system. These have become increasingly popular. All of our finishers will receive a one-of-a-kind medal and will be placed in a drawing to win one of 3 prizes donated by BCU. So far, we have 26 participants, and they keep track of their mileage on a board in our hallway. It's a very nice little design. We also had a student winter break package, short-term membership allowing students to use our facility for 30 days. 63 students took advantage of this. And the last thing we note is I and my staff have been going to different park district fitness facilities just to get a feel of what works for them, what hasn't worked, and hopefully we can use that information to put together an improved strategic plan going forward. If there's any questions.
Any questions for Joe? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Marketing Communications Manager Cheryl Buman. Cheryl, I know you've been on vacation.
I have.
Anything important you want to throw in?
About vacation or the meeting?
We're open.
I just wanted to mention that the marketing department, we submitted photos to the IAPD, IPRA Give Us Your Best Shot contest. So we found out today we did not place first, second, or third, but our photos may be used in the luncheon slideshow on Friday of conference, so we'll look out for that. We also will have 4 submissions for agency showcase at the conference. We're submitting for our website, for a logo, and 2 print communications. So we do get feedback on those, so that'll be helpful, to hear what the judges have to say about some of our work. And just on my last note, our spring summer guide, our largest guide, which also has all of our summer camps, will be mailed to residents the week of February 18th. And we do have a really nice 1-page dedicated to Gail for her farewell. And that's all I have for tonight.
Any questions for Cheryl? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Commissioner and Committee reports. We have none. Board correspondence, we have none. My pen just broke. Next item on the agenda is new business, ordinance 1-19, an ordinance abating. Thank you. An ordinance abating the tax heretofore levied for the year 2018 to pay debt service on the general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2013A of the Vernon Hills Park District, Lake County, Illinois. Could I have a motion to approve ordinance 1-19?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Kessler?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next item is ordinance 2-19, an ordinance abating the tax levied for the year 2018 to pay debt service on general obligation bonds, general obligation park bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2016A of the Vernon Hills Park District, Lake County, Illinois. Can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2-19?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler?
Yes.
President Dorhofer?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the 2019-2020 salary classification and merit increase recommendation. Can I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Commissioner Robbins.
So, on the salary ranges, Jeff, do we have any employees that are at the max and they're not gonna therefore get the 3% if we approve the 3%?
What
How's
they
that
do
work?
is their salary, they'll get, so let's say somebody's capped at 60,000. So if they'll get the 3%, so they'll get the $1,800 in a check. They don't get it added on to their salary, so they don't get
It's a
61.
one-time payment.
It's just a one-time. They still get the merit. They just don't get that included in their
So
salary.
would that be eligible for retirement benefits or?
No.
No.
No, only at the 60,000, you get locked in at. Yeah, not 61.
And how often do we look at the max? Do we?
Every year. Every year we do this study,
Okay.
yeah.
Commissioner Kessler?
And just for clarification, the percentage of approving is based on the discretion, whether someone is getting a merit change or not. It's not a guarantee.
So it's based on an annual review
Right.
with each employee, and that's up to their supervisor, manager, myself, with my team, if somebody is, and so every employee has to present goals, and those performance goals they're not just evaluated once a year. So we stay on top, like I stay on top of my team monthly, and it's their responsibility. If they complete a goal, then they put that in their, it's all online, so we can see, okay, Amy said she was gonna do this, she completed it, and then I check it off, and then when we meet, if they've met their goals, unless they have, for some other reason. So it's a pool, it's a 3% pool. It doesn't mean everybody's guaranteed that 3%,
And
yes.
some can go over it,
That's-
or is that a cap? Is that,
Cap,
It's-
hard cap.
In terms of, if somebody came to me and said, I'd like 4 or 5% because I'm doing X, well, you better have a pretty darn good reason
Okay.
to quantify that.
I guess what I'm saying, if
in
it's a
terms of-
pool,
That would be an
if someone
adjustment.
got 1 and someone got a 4,
No.
that doesn't
No,
happen.
it
So
doesn't happen that way.
We have a cap, basically, and then it can be within that range based on performance.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If somebody exceeds the role, then you have to reclassify the job and.
Yeah, well, that would typically be if somebody's taking on a lot more than necessarily their job description prescribes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kessler?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer?
Yes, next item on the agenda, Kelly Garvinian Playground.
So we met with you guys before the meeting. We have a selected choice a desirable choice that we'll pass along to James. He'll work with Game Time, our playground rep, and let him know that. President Dorhoeffer brought to my attention about including Kelly Garvanian, who's a former park commissioner, the park's named after. So he's going to reach out to her and share just, this is the design the board selected, and this is the time frame, et cetera, that this will be going in. Just more as a respectful courtesy call, yeah. So,
I have a
Yeah.
quick question.
Commissioner Gessler.
Are we guaranteed this grant or this sharing of costs with Game Time?
well, I would say this, you're not guaranteed the cost, you're not guaranteed the grant,
Okay.
but the last 2 years they've done this program, every single applicant that applied
Got it.
got the grant. It favors Game Time, that they can sell a playground to somebody at, maybe half cost. So the reason why it's there is because IPRA signed a contract with Game Time, and in return for allowing them to run this program and put it out statewide, they make a donation to the IPRA Foundation. And so that's what really circles this whole potential, promotion for them. You are limited in terms of the amenities that you can put in, so you can't just go through the catalog and say, I want this. They, am I right on that, James? They kind of give
Yes,
you a
they
select.
want platforms, typical
Yeah.
playground platform, staircase slide.
Yeah.
Swings don't count.
So I think this.
They're looking at
particular-
stuff they got a bunch of stock on that they want to get rid of and get some money
I
on the
don't
dollar,
represent them,
and
but
we're the
yes.
beneficiary of that.
Well,
Or we're making
I
some more
like to
stuff.
think still, if you look at it, it's still good play equipment, and it'll really add nicely to, to that park. And if you have the opportunity to, we were allocating $100 grand, I think, or 90 grand on that playground, was it 90? So, if I got 45,000 from a vendor, I'm gonna take that shot. And I think this particular playground, fits that particular desired need.
I agree with that. I mean, I think the plan is great. I just, if for some reason Game Time declined us, then we're not committed to this because it
And
would be
we'll-
over our budget and we
Yes.
would go back to option 1 kind of thing.
Well, and we might even put it out to other vendors.
Okay.
Because we're locked, you're married to Game Time on this particular proposal. We could open it up to other vendors and see.
Got it. Thank
Okay?
you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is the kindergarten traffic plan.
Okay, so you have that before you. I think I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Kessler. And she brought up some very good points last night to the group at our public officials and administrators meeting.
So,
Concern.
looking at the floor plan, I don't know if people can see it.
No.
We're on the camera, so.
On the camera, can they see it?
You have a laser, James? Maybe Dave can, or you can point. That's the best location, Dave, from a camera. Well, no, for you guys,
No,
for you
it's
guys.
Not
but
on
not-
a camera.
For us, it is, camera
Yeah.
can't see it at all.
You could put it over here and you can get that camera, right, Stuart?
That will work.
He can do
Sorry,
this.
you guys can't see.
That's okay.
I'll walk
You'll
around.
see it tomorrow.
So,
You got the
so,
laser?
no, it's not,
Yes.
is it working?
Give it to Dave.
Well, I can just talk through it.
There you go.
There it is.
Okay. So you're gonna talk, you probably should use the laser, what you're talking about. Just-
So,
This is for the public and board's benefit at this point.
okay, so, backing up on, having the kindergarten building be able to queue cars in so they could, pick up their child. We are, my concern with this newest layout where the cars would come in and, come around this way is that they're going right through our parking lot. And the parking spots on either side of this, anytime someone is trying to back up they would not be able to back out when people are lined up. And from my understanding, it could be an hour or so of people lining up and waiting for their child to, in order for pickup. 45 minutes? What was the
Probably more,
outcome?
probably 30 to
30,
45 is
yeah.
more accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in any case, during that time, people who might be using our Sullivan Center could be inconvenienced, and it just creates a lot of backup and a lot of congestion. So I know there was talk at one point, if we could move this line of car to come on this far end, would allow all these spots in here to be open and available. It would involve moving our skate park. It's a conversation we can have. But if the current plan, I have a lot of concerns with, and I would love to see something different, because this is my opinion. I'm not sure what everyone else feels about it, but I understand the need of keeping traffic off of Aspen, and so by going this way, they would be exiting off of onto Phillips Atrium and out that way, which, again, I want to be a good neighbor to our school district. I want to be make a good decision on traffic flow. But the current way, I feel like our building and our patrons will suffer from this inconvenience.
Commissioner Robbins, you got anything?
Yeah, well, I have a question. I mean, how realistic is this, on this diagram, all these cars that start, start down there?
It starts here.
Okay.
And it backs up down here.
And it could go all the way right there.
Yeah,
Yes.
How realistic of a,
very.
this, this is chaos. I mean, and if I'm the end car, so I'm waiting 35, 40
Well, but
minutes
that's
before I get all the way around to the front of the line to get my child?
No, you're getting in line 30, 45 minutes before they get out of school.
Okay,
Then you wait to get your kid.
right.
So you could be waiting an hour.
This is what parents do, when they pick up their kids. This is a common thing. We asked how many people are, pick up their kids, so the amount of cars was based on those numbers.
So, yeah, so in terms of, this is all the south end is the aquatic center lot out
Right,
here,
this isn't used.
which is not used at all
During the day.
during the day. There's no
Okay.
patron parking in there at all. So the ability to queue in there, if you desire to sit there, is gonna be your choice.
There's the issue.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
therein lies where, and so the desire that at least President Dorhofer and I know Commissioner Kessler have spoken to some of our school officials and our village officials about moving the skate park. James has got some preliminary costs on moving that skate park back to the path of $250,000 to do that. We don't feel that that's our requirement to pay to do that when we're trying to accommodate the school's needs in terms of this particular traffic flow and the desire that the village has as well.
I do see issues where, you know, somebody is at the Sullivan Center and, you know, they're parked and then there's a car in front of them and there's these cars all the way, you know, next to them that they're not gonna be able to get out.
That's 100% accurate, Bruce. And that is, most of our staff that work here park in that last row. And so we would know between 2:30, when they start lining up, and probably 3:15 by the time they're done. In that 45-minute window, I'm guessing that you're not gonna be able to back up.
Right.
So if I'm in that row and Amy's parked in front of me, I gotta go, Amy, I gotta go to a meeting, you gotta move your car.
Right.
And so the desire to move the skate park back then opens, what Cindy pointed out, opens up that ability to push cars further east, and then it prohibits that, you know, that action taking place. Now, we could also, could I have the laser, Dave, please? We could also ask our employees to park up in this area here. Not necessarily as you come in, but there's room up in this quadrant.
Yep, we
up
talked
here.
about that dedicated to the school for people who want to pick up.
That's not happening now because the library is building an additional lot attaching to, and they're adding another 21 stalls. And they're dedicating those stalls. Now, the school and the library are tag teaming in that. Those 70, there's a lot there, the new one, the latest one they built that has 51 stalls. They're adding another 21 stalls. So they're gonna have 72 stalls available, and those are gonna be specifically dedicated for the school staff. So all the teachers and administrators are gonna park, and it's not really showing, I don't think, up in here, but it's up in this area here,
Who's paying for that?
there. Actually, the library with their new addition and the school are combining on covering that cost.
At least they're helping somebody out.
Yeah, and so none of the teachers, at least at this point, or staff, now that doesn't mean they won't, but and parents that come to pick up their kids or have you know, they gotta talk to the principal or talk to a teacher, they're all gonna be told to park on the north side of the building.
So that means if they're parking over there to pick up their child, they're gonna somehow have to walk all the way around to that area.
'Cause there's an entrance on, there's an entrance on the north side of the
So
building.
then they're coming through the bus door and going through all of that.
It's
I
not a
didn't think
bus,
that's
it's
how
not a
they
bus door,
wanted
Cindy.
that.
It's, the main entrance is right here, okay? But on the other, on this part here, on this north end where the buses come, it's still an employee entrance. It's administrator, they can come in through that door, so parents can come in through that entrance. They will have staff there to greet people. And so typically, you're gonna walk, if you have to meet somebody with your child, you're gonna see whoever you need to see, a teacher or administrator. You're gonna come in through this direction, but you're gonna park up in here. This is all that current lot that is owned right now by the library. So by us moving this further, we pick up this whole lane in here where we could push cars in here and come up, and it definitely helps in here. Queuing wise, you can see, I think there's 6 cars, you might pick up 6 cars on it. But I think it's just the best, it's the best solution. And I think you did a very good job last night of putting your message out there to both the village and the school staff and board members that were present. And I felt like your point was well heard and well received. And so at this point, what the village has asked the school to wait on, and pretty much us, is let's open the bids in, I think it's late February, see how they come in, and then if there's the potential to get some funding out of that, to apply that towards this particular project request from the park board. I honestly, I think you guys have, and I'm not saying don't continue to, because I think that helps. The more people you can get in terms of school and village officials, the more helpful that is. certainly staff at both entities are aware.
Right, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to hold up their bidding, I know they're on a time frame, but I guess I just also want to be very vocal that, as this goes forward, that people don't just assume this is the way it's going, because I do think I think we're in a position that we should try to get the best flow. This is a long-term situation, because the kindergarten's gonna be there a long time, we're gonna be here a long time, and if the earlier we train traffic flows and get people in the right position, with the least inconvenience is the direction we should be going.
So I think just another, none of this area in here is gonna be anything that's gonna be detrimental to the bid process.
Right.
The road's gonna happen, whether you guys, whether we like it or not, it's gonna happen. We just wanna move this,
Right.
okay? And so they can still go out to bid. They can delay this particular component and amend it from the bid if they wanted to. There's no concrete, there's no, additional site work really going in there. It's a design implement that is very little cost, because it's gonna happen. It's just help assist us with that movement, and that's a desired thing. And that can be something we could do a year down the road, if for some reason, but we like to get it done in advance of the construction.
Any other questions?
So we don't vote on this
Nope.
or anything? We just voice
Just
our...
just an update.
opinions?
All right, next item on the agenda, W.W. Granger invoice payable. Can I have a motion to approve the W.W. Granger invoice payable in the amount of $2,655.84?
Big month for
Whoa,
Granger.
whoa.
Where's your stock, Dave?
Profit sharing, here we come.
You would not approve it.
I'm not hearing a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second,
A second,
discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Kessler.
yes.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
President Dorhofer.
Abstain. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Robbins.
Nothing this evening.
Commissioner Kessler.
Nothing.
And myself, Cindy, thank you for attending last night. Really appreciate you always represent well, so thank you. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Robbins.
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler.
yes.
President Dorhofer.
Yes, we are adjourned.
You like sitting there, huh?